Hello, everybody. Welcome to our special edition of our webinar. I'm Daniel Goldfeld. I'm the VP of Customer Success at Mine. And today we're going to talk a little bit about MineOS Unleashed. We'll chart the future of data privacy and governance. And of course, we're going to share with you some exciting news. Here with me, we got Kobi Nissan. He's the Chief Product Officer and co-founder at Mine. Hey, Kobi.
Hey everyone, nice meeting you.
Great having you here. And today we're going to talk about a few topics, quite a lot. First of all, of course, we're going to talk about why we raised capital. So for those of you who haven't heard, we've just finished our round B. So we're going to discuss what we're going to do with all of that money. We're going to talk a little bit about the current landscape of data privacy and data governance, the different approaches. We're going to talk about the collect, use, destroy approach. We'll talk about our vision and how we're going to address a lot of the different things that we're going to discuss. And of course, we're going to talk about the roadmap that we have as part of our product. And it's not a full webinar if we're not going to talk a little bit about the trending topic out there and one of the things that probably you're interested in, especially around privacy, and this is AI, predictive compliance, and the user experience. We're going to finish this with Q&A. Feel free to write your questions in the chat below, and we'll definitely address all of those at the end of the session. So I see a lot of familiar faces and names in the list, but for those of you who are not familiar with Mine, just a few words about us. Mine was founded in 2019. We're a global company based in Tel Aviv, US, and Germany. We're designed to meet all your security and compliance needs, be you're a small company or an enterprise. We have a diverse and experienced leadership coming from all walks of life. We have people coming from fintech, from R&D, from cybersecurity, from other venture capitals, and many other companies. Our advisory board is also people we would love to mention. We've got Chuta Williams, who's the privacy engineering leader and head of privacy at Reddit. She's an ex-Google, ex-Meta, and ex-Twitter. We've got Ari Schwartz, who was the senior director of cybersecurity for the Obama administration. We've got David Hoffman, who's the ex-chief privacy officer at Intel. And of course, we've got Dan Orhoff, who's an Israeli and US certified privacy lawyer who's very involved and active in the international privacy community. We're backed by leading investments and investors in the US and EU. We've raised more than $42 million in funding since 2019, and you can see some of the VCs that trust us. And we are a G2 leader for, I think, the 8th time consecutive in data privacy management software. Some of the customers and companies that love us around the world. Many customers that are not here, but definitely part of our community. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank all of you for your trust in our product. So without further ado, Kobi Nissan, Chief Product Officer at Mine. Kobi is a co-founder together with Val Ringel and Gal Golan. He has a comprehensive background and experience in dealing with data privacy, both from inside and outside the companies. He knows mid-stage and early-stage companies and how they need to handle their data and data governance, and he's our Chief Product Officer. So, hey, Kobi.
Hey everyone, great being here, and thank you, Danny, for this kind of introduction.
Sure thing. So I guess maybe, Kobi, before we jump into the future and what we plan to do and our exciting news, let's talk a little bit about the journey, the milestones. So basically the things that we've passed as Mine. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the main milestones and achievements that we had until now.
Yes, of course. So yeah, I used this slide in order to kind of share the high-level milestones, but I think that the journey really started in 2019, where GDPR just came to force in mid 2018, and everything was a bit fresh and new. I think the first stage of the company as a whole was basically to develop our domain expertise, really learning about privacy from the consumer side, from the company side, trying to reconcile and understand the difficulties from or challenges from the standpoint of a company and an enterprise, trying to understand the concerns and the difficulties from the stance of the end consumers. So I think that was kind of the first phase of the company, and that allows us to get to the second phase, where we were able to develop solutions, technologies that were very pragmatic. Those are the AI engines that we developed that really address specific use case and company needs. And then I think that around the A round in October 2020, that was the point where it is safe to say that we had an end-to-end data governance product started predominantly in privacy, and we started our journey in building or supporting privacy programs for companies end-to-end. So like any other company that starts their journey, we start with I would say the mid-market, SMBs, SMEs, and slowly, gradually, we made our journey to grow and take it up market. And I think we got very fast into a stage during 2022 and 2023, of course, where we partnered with an amazing set of clients, amazing set of partners. And now we are ready to kind of run our expansion and go towards expanding further in the US and growing towards other modules. And I think we are going to talk a little bit about data governance as a whole and our entire approach to data governance at Mine.
Got it. Thanks, Kobi. So yeah, that's an amazing journey, and I think we've built quite an amazing customer community along the way, and we're very proud of. And it's only the beginning. So I guess what's now, right? Why did we raise capital, and what are our plans for the near future? What are we going to do with it?
Yeah, so I think if we focus on the past year and a half in the company, we have experienced basically a high rate or an uptick in terms of demand. And there were two trends that came to play. More companies or more partners joining us in this journey, and larger organizations from companies of a few hundreds of employees. We got into companies of a few tens of thousands of employees, and that created a great challenge and an experience for the company. But at the same time, we needed to provide more solutions, more complexities, more customization in order to support this expansion. So the first and foremost, we need to reinforce our commitments, making sure that we develop the amazing service that we provided our clients throughout this journey, and making sure that even when we expand, we continue to provide this experience. The second one is product innovation and the buildup of the company for the future. So I think there are so many things that we have learned throughout this journey, and how we can really expand from privacy to other territories in the organization. It can be in security, in IT, and as a whole across the entire data lifecycle. So I think there are lots of surprises that we are planning ahead. So it is going to be very interesting to see us during 2024. And then market expansion, of course. So going even further, we are seeing lots of trends going on in the US. The US is expanding into more and more countries states that are taking privacy into act. So I think market expansion and growth is the third pillar that was really a driver in order to raise the B round.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, you've talked about market expansion and innovation. So I guess probably the next question will be, can you share some upcoming events, things that are happening in the privacy domain that will affect the product roadmap, the future of the product, the things we're going to do as a company?
Yeah, of course. So before I dive into this slide, I want to share something that we have done throughout this journey, that while growing and moving forward with the product, going up market, expanding to new territories, or even just because the market is evolving, privacy is relatively a new market, I would say. We have developed this habit of speaking to privacy leaders, data governance leaders, just to kind of share thought, exchange feedbacks, and learn a little bit from their experience. That was an amazing input, and created like a great cycle while growing the company. And I think that really leads me into the new privacy regulations in the market. Yes, there are lots of new trends going on. So we see more states, as I mentioned before, 12 states that already approved privacy acts in the market. We see more companies after the CPRA getting more concerned or preparing for employees DSARs, access requests. We are hearing more about AI and risk and governance that companies are looking into, and there are acts or bills that are going to be introduced very, very soon. So I think there are many things that are happening in parallel in the market, and the way to tackle it and the way to make sure that we are developing the right tools for the company, and not just boiling the ocean, but really developing something that is usable, that will create an impact for the company, is by working and collaborating together with the communities. That's something that is really important to us. Overall, if we are looking towards the future in the next few years, we are seeing a massive opportunity that can really help companies in their data governance processes.
So yeah, it does sound like there's a lot of things that are coming in the domain, that data privacy and data governance in general. But I'm sure that some of the people in the webinar would definitely ask, okay, but there are tools for that, right? There are other tools, there are other solutions in the market that are doing similar things or can address similar pain points. I mean, what are we going to do differently? What are we going to do with what we're planning to do in our vision?
Yeah, so I think one of the things, there are a few things that we've learned in this journey. And I think that what we've seen oftentimes, that companies were struggling with many different fragmented solutions. So for example, you might have a solution to handle your data subject request and some other modules in order to handle your vendor risk assessment, or your DPIAs and your ROPA and your any other privacy assessment that you need to create, and some other tools in order to handle data mapping. So that was one concern, or one challenge that companies face, that this is something that we've seen quite a bit. The one size fits all approach, the limited lifecycle management. I think that overall what we've seen was that at the end of the day, you have many tools that are trying to help you manage vendor risks, help you manage shadow IT, help you manage privacy and data mapping. So you have your proper record of processing activities, your proper data tagging, then DSARs. But all of them together are creating some sort of baseline mapping. So eventually the company left out without a single source of data truth. And I think what we've brought to the table is twofold. First is trying to create this pillar of discovery, where you can really have a single source of data truth that will allow you to understand where the data is, who has access to it, what data you have inside, for any granular level. And then on top of that, build modules and connect new modules on privacy standpoint and on other areas as well. It doesn't have to be on privacy. It can be across the entire data lifecycle. You can even plug other tools and just make sure that you have a single source of data truth. I think that's something that really sets us apart against the status quo. And the last point I would mention is the pragmatic approach. Basically, there are many tools out there that will say, let's go ahead and kind of connect everywhere, run full scans everywhere. And I think what we have learned throughout the way is that you really need to understand the use case, what you're trying to solve, and then find the right solution in order to fit that specific need. So we've created a product that will allow a company to kind of scale up and down and understand how we can solve this specific use case with a technology that will be a good fit to this specific use case, rather than using something that is an overkill, if you will, for a specific use case. So I think the pragmatic approach and a single source of data truth is kind of what sets us apart and puts us in a very unique position in the market.
Yeah, definitely. I think from our customers, working with the existing customers, we do see that a lot of them are coming from a fragmented approach where they want to address a few use cases, but not always looking at the sort of full picture. And I think one of the things we've mentioned is sort of what we call the data governance lifecycle. Can you maybe elaborate on that? What do you consider to be sort of the lifecycle? How does it look like? What are the things that we do within the lifecycle?
Perfect. So I think first let's really define the data lifecycle. So it's pretty clear. I think the audience would. I'm sure that everybody are familiar with this. But basically, let's try to understand that when data comes into the organization, there is the creation piece where we create, we store. You have all the processes in order to kind of have the data meet the organization for the first time. Then there is a point where we use the data, process it for the business process perspective, share it internally or share it externally. At some point it might go archived and destroyed. So that's basically the natural data lifecycle in the organization. There are many tools, operational tools, in order for the organization to manage that. That's not our business. Our business is to try to create and think in a wider perspective rather than on a singular approach, is to think about the data lifecycle from a governance standpoint. So let's try to create the audit processes in order to define the policies and observe what actually is taking place, so we can identify the gaps there. So let's try to define those audit processes that will allow us to understand where we are in the data lifecycle, building the governance on top of that. The next piece is to create the controls. We want to set up the relevant controls that will allow us to measure the risk of those gaps and really, setting the enforcement rules. So when I look at mine, when we think about data lifecycle and we take it into consideration, we think about the data lifecycle and then the audit and the controls. What we have here is basically the product pillars. When we think about mine as a whole, the bottom line there, the very basic piece in green, is what I described at the beginning, the single source of data truth. Those are the tools, the IP, the core of the technology, where we basically answer those questions of where the data is, who has access to it, what data we have, in a very granular level. And then what we have seen throughout the years is that it's not only about privacy. Privacy is basically, I would say, a concept that needs to be inside the organization across, and it goes beyond. It goes also to the IT and to the security in order to create some additional processes, additional controls and policies all around. What we see here is basically a separation between the define and observe modules, and then if we click the next one and the control modules. So basically we've set out those two apart. So we have also the auditorial piece, and on top of that, the controlling piece, so the organization can really manage and take controls over the gaps that they have identified. And with that, we kind of close the entire data governance end to end.
Got it. So that's a great explanation and an overview of the life cycle. I mean, I have to admit, the customers I speak to, they say it's really challenging for a DPO or a small team of professionals to do all of that. It seems like a very big task, right? And you also have to repeat it every year if you think about it. Not many companies are doing this, but this is basically what you're expected to do. And all of that without having sort of the proper tools in place seems to be very challenging. I know a lot of using Excel, but I think Excel is probably just not enough. But let's touch on one topic. I'm curious. So you've mentioned AI asset discovery, and we all know that AI is a hot topic right now, right?
Yep.
So is this something companies should focus on? Is this something they should start dealing with? Or is this, too early and we shouldn't focus on that yet and basically focus on the core?
Yeah. So just before we go into the AI topic, I just want to touch one point of from what you mentioned. When we look at those processes, oftentimes, yes, it might become hectic, time consuming in order to run all those assessments in place. And I think building the relevant tools that will not only allow you to give you the news. There are lots of tools out there that will give you the news. However, trying to provide you the insight, the action that you need to take, actually showing you the path, the way, building basically a baseline of 90% of what needs to be happening, and allow you, the privacy professional, to take decisions and document your decisions. That's what we're trying to strive. So mine will always be in a place that we will prefer to have a single module that will be perfected, rather than going on a very large level of features that at the end of the day will just create more burden on the DPO. So that's kind of the mindset. So that's on one of the points that you mentioned before. Now, per AI, I think AI, yes, it's a big topic that is obviously something that is in a lot of professionals' mindset nowadays. And I think that right now, if I look at AI, I would divide into three different types. Basically, three different types. Yeah, I would say a deployer, companies that really deploy the AI assets or deploy the AI modules. I would divide into users, most of the organization out there that will use an AI module that some other company created and use inside the product. And it might be a developer. Maybe you develop it yourself. For any one of those concept or themes, you need to have a different assessment in place. When we look at risk, those risks are going beyond privacy. It's privacy, but it's also security, it's also operational, and it's also businesses. When we think about it, we might want to think about intellectual properties, about copyrights, about trust and ethics. So I think all those are in mind. And companies trying to build those AI impact assessment and trying to allow the use case and why we're using AI modules in the first place, and what use cases does the organization approve their employees to use the AI modules for. But I think the interesting piece of what Mine is trying to do is, again, going back to the roots of the data governance model that I shared before. We're trying to do the discovery first, letting you instead of you running blind, trying to really to allow the organization to understand what assets do they have, trying to run the asset discovery module first. What data sets we can find, which vendors are you using that are using AI inside their products. What type of AI? Is it a generative AI, or is it an AI that is embedded and basically just a predictable one? Basically, which employees are handling AI in the organization. So we're trying to do all this asset discovery first, and I think that is something that we are going to introduce and announce real soon. So stay tuned for more from our part.
You got it. Very interesting. So I guess I got a question, and then we'll see if there are any questions from the audience. So, what risks do you think AI is posing in regards to privacy? I mean, why and should it be something that privacy professionals are focusing on?
So I think that right now it's a matter of preparation. That there are many bills that are in the making. We should expect some enforcement to happen in the next year and a half. And I think that right now it's a matter of building the infrastructure that will allow the organization to control and have the governance rules in place. And it's mostly about understanding what we are dealing with. The risks are, running from ethics into the area of IP, copyright, and then it really depends on what type of AI models that you really use.
You got it. All right. Let's see if we have any questions from the audience. So please feel free to use the chat on the bottom if you have any questions to Kobi. You can type it directly inside the chat and we'll be able to answer your questions. All right, great. So if you have any other questions that we haven't addressed during today's webinar, please feel free to visit us at MineOS.ai. Feel free to reach out to our team. We would love to schedule a demo and show you the products. We're also very excited about our future and the upcoming features that we're going to introduce in the upcoming months. Kobi, thank you for joining today.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure to be here. And as usual, looking forward to hear from everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a pleasant day.